Welcome to the fourth episode of One Pittsfield with Mayor Marchetti. We are on the road again today, and we are at the Zion Lutheran Church. In a bit, we'll be talking to the city's Community Development Director, Justine Dodds, and Pastor Joel from the Zion Lutheran Church. But first, I want to give you an update of where I've been, what I've been doing, and what you'll see at the upcoming City Council meeting. So I've been visiting a lot of places. Earlier in the week, we visited Interprint. My purpose for visiting Interprint was they're doing an expansion based on some city help with a TIF, and I wanted to go see how they were making out, and their expansion's almost completed. And why I went is because the TIF that the city of Pittsfield provided them was one of the reasons why they chose to remain in Pittsfield as a company instead of traveling to Georgia. And so I was trying to get some testimonial stuff so as we move forward, we can understand why TIFs are important to the city of Pittsfield. Councilor Cavey and I visited the folks at the Springside Nursing Home. They invited me out to see what was happening in the nursing home, and Councilor Cavey wanted to go with me since it was in his ward. We met many residents, and Helen Durant insisted on having a picture taken with us, and she's still hoping that the Berkshire Eagle will pick that up off my Facebook page and carry it for her so that she can be a star. We went to see ServiceNet's Prospect Meadow Farm, which is the old Jody's on Crane Ave, and learned all about the fascinating things that ServiceNet is going to do there. Probably not my favorite, since folks that know me know that I don't like mushrooms, but I learned how shiitake mushrooms are made. I was invited to tour VIM, Volunteers in Medicine, at their new campus on South Street. We were able to see everything that VIM is doing for the people of Pittsfield, and their biggest work is helping folks that don't have health insurance find the help that they need and get the treatment they need. And they moved to Pittsfield with the help of $200,000 of the city's ARPA money. Lastly, I got a tour of the Mass Hire Center. One of the things I quickly learned as I became mayor is that not only do you have roles and responsibilities within the city of Pittsfield, but there are other boards and commissions that you have responsibility to, and the Mass Hire Career Center was one of them. I was able to offer testimony to the Cable Advisory Committee to begin our contract negotiation with Spectrum, Charter Spectrum, and we were all advocating for PCTV. And anyone that knows me and knows my life experiences, there's been more than 20 years on the board at PCTV, and I understand the vital resource that PCTV plays for the city. In fact, if it wasn't for PCTV, you wouldn't be listening to us now. I was able to participate in Read Across America Day at two different locations in the last couple of weeks. One was Allendale School, where I was able to read to a fourth grade class, and then I was also able to go read at the Gladys Allen Brigham Center to a pre-kindergarten class. I was able to rile up the pre-kindergarten class a little bit better than the fourth grade class. And then I left the teachers having a grand old time with the kids. Want to congratulate Destiny and Gloria Saunders for their grand opening of Dolce Beauty Products on North Street. I was there for their grand opening and had a blast. And I wish Destiny and her mom the best of success as we go forward. We also want to welcome Jake Seeley and the Bomb Shack Vintage store that we helped cut a ribbon and do a grand opening this past Saturday. As a reminder, if your business or organization has something coming up, let the mayor's office know. We are happy to provide this information out to the community, and when we get to talking to Pastor Joel, we'll talk about some exciting good things that he has coming up here so that you can stop in and visit. So on the council agenda, it's been a busy 2 weeks for us, and I'm actually kind of really proud. We get to start out our city council meeting with several proclamations recognizing our sports team, and so we have the Taconic Thunder hockey team who recently won the Western Mass Championship. Something that's near and dear to my heart, the Taconic bowling team won their state championships. And although bowling is not technically recognized as a full state sport, their mayor knows all about bowling, and I coached many of those kids through my bowling program and can't wait to honor them tomorrow night at the city council meeting. We also get to recognize two individual students, one PHS student, Matt Dupuis, who won state boys championship in the state finals for bowling, and Eliza Mullen from PHS, who won 2 state titles, the alpine skiing and slalom and the great slalom. So looking forward to welcoming them to City Hall at 5:30 on Tuesday night with a police and fire escort with members of the City Council, and then letting them come up to council chambers and getting recognition they deserve. We're still on our appointments, and so we're going to keep on making appointments, and we have several reappointments. We have 3 reappointments to the Disabilities Commission, Scott Doan, Phil Massery, and Ryan O'Neill. Dennis Powell being reappointed to the Licensing Board, Carrie McLean being appointed to the Assessor's Office, and Kathleen DeWitt Allen being reappointed to the Zoning Board of Appeals. I also want to just tell the folks, back to the sports for a moment, we need to continue to watch our boys basketball teams, because there is a possibility that when we get to the final 2, to the state championships, it very well could be Pittsfield High School versus Taconic Center. So stay tuned and watch, and wouldn't it be awesome to have a state championship here in Pittsfield, Mass with both of our teams? We can't lose. So what else do we have on the meeting? We're going to have an update from Julie Kopolis, who is our TDI fellow. She is going to be giving us some updates of what they have been doing. This is a program through Mass Development, is fully funded through Mass Development, and it's for gateway cities like Pittsfield. It's designed to accelerate economic development with a focus in a downtown. We're focusing on downtown along North Street, but also within 1 block each way of North Street. She is going to be providing us with a great update, and we look forward to hearing what she has to say. We have some grants that we are bringing forward again. We have a $18,581.49 grant from the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security, Department of Fire Services, for a fiscal year 24 firefighter safety equipment program. We have a $300,000 borrowing for the connection of the new taxi lane at the Pittsfield Municipal Airport under Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 8-4. We have a tie coming, something that we've talked about for a pretty long time in Pittsfield, but the Wright Building is now about ready to begin development. Allegroni Construction Company is proposing a $17.8 million redevelopment of 2 downtown properties. Both buildings are underutilized and need significant upgrades. With the combination of the Wright Building and the former Jim's House of Shoes property into one development, this will retain the commercial storefronts downtown while creating 35 rental units, 28 market rate, and 7 affordable units. I'm really pleased to say we have some good news at the council meeting, and by now you've probably already heard it, but the city of Pittsfield has been under an EPA administrative order for a very long time, and we have got our way out of that. And so we will hear more about that Tuesday night at the meeting, but we want to thank our Commissioner of Public Services and all of the community for all the work that they've done. This administrative order being removed shows that the $56 million project that we did to upgrade our wastewater treatment plant was well needed. And congratulations to Commissioner Morales. There'll also be a response on the vandalism that's been happening in our parks, and a request for cameras and security system, and our building maintenance director is already working on those. So we've submitted a response to Councilor Persip. One last piece for the meeting before we get to our 2 guests is that we've also submitted a request to rescind a little over $1.1 million of capital borrowings that have been in the works. We are rescinding those because those works have already been completed. And so since those works are being completed in an effort to increase our bond rating, we are pulling that information back, and that way those funds will never be spent and we never have to pay back. So that's a little bit update about what I've been doing and where we're going. And so I'm happy to be joined today by both Justine Dodds, our Community Development Director, and Pastor Joel at Zion Lutheran Church. And thanks to the beautiful backdrop that we have behind us, Pastor Joel. And so we're going to be here talking about housing, and I'll call Justine our housing guru. Through all of her work in community development, there's nobody that knows housing in the city of Pittsfield better than Justine. And Pastor Joel happens to be one of the participants in the housing plans. But before we go there, I want to be sure that we give folks the opportunity to talk about your German dinner that is coming up on March 15th. There is a spring and fall dinner here at the church every year. I'm usually here. I love the first time I came and it was German goulash. What is German goulash? So why don't you give a plug for Zion Lutheran Church and your event?
Sure, thank you so much, Mayor. My name is Joel Berglund. I'm pastor here at Zion Lutheran Church. Zion Lutheran Church, we say we are never perfect, we're always beloved, and we're always being made new, and it is our passion and joy every day to open up this building, to extend this gift of historic space here in downtown Pittsfield to various groups and in our community that need space. And in order to do that, we do raise money, and we like to have fun doing it. So twice a year, this is a German heritage church out of the Lutheran Reformation in Germany. So we do a German dinner twice a year. March 15th, Friday, coming up 5 to 7, you can get your tickets at zionlutheranpittsfield.org. And then just a couple other events that I want to highlight. Kids for Harmony's having their concert here, which is free and open to the public. Youth String Ensemble here in this beautiful space. That is on the 26th of March, which is a Tuesday. And finally, South Community Food Pantry is having a big fundraiser here on Friday, April 12th, which is called Rock and Bowl. They're having bowls of soups and some of them actually handcrafted by folks in our community. And so we invite your attendance there. For any of you who are wanting to know what's going on in this space, we would love to have you here. You can go to acommonroom.org.
So Pastor Joel, you fooled me at first, because when I started to get the notifications about Rock and Bowl, I really thought it was bowling. And I was all excited, and then, whoops, not bowling, but a great cause, and look forward to that event as well. So the focus of the show, post the updates, is also to be kind of talking about housing. And I think all of us in the city of Pittsfield recognize that housing is a problem. And so, Justine, I already labeled you the housing guru of the city of Pittsfield. Talk to us about the housing study that's taking place in Pittsfield so that we can get a better understanding of what our housing needs are and what our housing possibilities are.
So in the Community Development Department, we constantly over the years have been doing different planning studies to look at housing. As you mentioned, Mayor, I think we all kind of recognize that housing is a critical component to many of the economic growth and downtown vitality. Bringing residents into our downtown has been a boon for the downtown. You mentioned some of the new businesses that have opened up around that. But we also hear, when it comes to housing as an economic driver, places like the school department, some of our major employers, find it challenging to bring new employees in without, a plethora of housing options across all income levels, really. So as I say, we in the planning department look at that constantly. At the moment, we're undertaking a downtown housing plan. You mentioned the Wright Building, but we have seen how those new residents and new units downtown, including things like the Anota Building, the Howard Building, St. Mary's Church, how that's been beneficial for the area around those developments. So we're undertaking a study. We're looking at some underutilized commercial buildings in the downtown corridor. We get calls about people saying, how could I repurpose my building into housing that seems like it's a need? And so this will really take a look at how that's done, how it could be done, and develop a linkage with some resources that the city might be able to take advantage of in order to encourage this development and continue on that path.
And so I think, as we move forward, and I don't even think I had raised my right hand yet to become the mayor, but we were well on our way. You and I had a meeting and we talked about the old Hibbert School and what possibilities that could be. And although we know that could be a very difficult road to find our way through, we have begun that process to add another building to the list of potential redevelopments into housing. And at first it was like, well, what are we going to do with that building? It doesn't matter. We just need to make it housing. Geez, should it be market rate housing? Should it be affordable housing? Should it be mixed use housing? And then we were on a call with a consultant that said, what about senior housing? When's the last time you built senior housing? So, I think that it's important to get out to folks that there is a plan in development. We do recognize the crisis that we're in, and we're moving forward. But I also think that we have to recognize where we are today and what we've been doing. And so, recently I had the opportunity of speaking at a Berkshire County Realtors Association meeting, and I kind of went over some of the things that have been happening. And I think people knew some of the stuff, but not all of the stuff. And you were with me at that meeting. And so let's talk a little bit about the $8 million of ARPA funding. And this will actually be able to get both of you guys involved in the conversation. But the city of Pittsfield, when they were working on distributing their ARPA dollars, put $8 million into the housing bucket. And there are several that are there, but I think for you, Justine, the two big pieces are our emergency shelter that we've recently seen transition from the old St. Joseph School building to the First United Methodist Church, and then also the White Terrace apartments. So let's kind of quickly talk about those, and then we can go to Pastor Joel and talk about the Housing Resource Center and the apartments that they're going to so graciously build here in the church to help as well.
Yeah, so I mean, I think there's a recognition that that $8 million, that sounds like a lot of money, but when it comes to housing creation and development, it's always a challenge. And this American Rescue Plan funds was really allowed us to make some unprecedented investments in the infrastructure around housing. And so two of the projects, I mean, a part of that $8 million is some other programs as well, which was expansion of the At Home in Pittsfield program for homeowners to help preserve properties, and many other affordable housing trust fund funds to help them create and incentivize housing development. And this, as you mentioned, the Pearl, the emergency shelter. Prior to COVID, I think we recognized that we needed a new space. The old shelter was in disrepair. It wasn't maintained well by the landlord, who was not the operator of the building, and we had been looking for new space. It's taken some time, with the intervention of the pandemic, the temporary space at St. Joe's, but we now have the Pearl, which is right across the street from City Hall, and it represents 6,000 feet of a new style of shelter. You and I went and visited there, and it's more of a community than anything else. Right. The old model that they had, they have a communal kitchen, they have more bedroom style, dormitory style living, and it's really about fostering that community for the people who are sheltering there.
Yeah, we had fun there.
Yeah, we did.
There are the two memories for me that come from there is the lady that was standing at the door going, "Are you the mayor? Are you the mayor? Are you the mayor?" to everyone that came in. And it was finally, "No, I'm the mayor. You can stop asking. I'm here." And we met a gentleman who thought that he was going to play games with us. And here, let me show you. My hearing aids are monitored by my cell phone, so I can turn my hearing aid up or down by my cell phone. And he went, "Okay, Mayor, I can't hear you anymore." And he kind of muted me. And so we played. I'm like, "Huh? What? Okay, I'll turn you back up so that we can talk." Yeah. And so, it's a great experience to kind of, humble yourself to be there and have conversations with the folks and try to learn more about why they're there and what's going on. And I think we'd also be remiss if we don't talk about the White Terrace apartments, and how many housing units will be coming on board soon.
So that has been a source of blight for that corner of North Street for many, many years, and it's really been a challenge to get something off the ground there. You'll remember there was a fire there at one point that kind of jeopardized the structure, but thankfully we had a developer who's able to preserve the historic structure of that building. That building is under construction thanks to some leverage funding from the City of Pittsfield's ARPA funds and their Community Development Block Grant funds as well, to make that a reality. That's going to transform those three sort of historic buildings into 41 units of affordable housing, and there will be Berkshire Housing will be managing that project, and there will be supportive services in the facility, in the building as well, which I think is critical when we're talking about supporting people and stabilizing households. I think that's also going to be transformative for that neighborhood as well, with a lot of new residents and a lot of new energy and activity around that corner that's been, so vacant and blighted for so long.
So speaking of a place that would offer supportive services, let's go to Pastor Joel. And as the conversation was happening, It's my understanding that you were there like, pick me, let me help, let me help. So talk to us about, why you wanted to jump on board and help, and what you guys are doing here at Zion Lutheran Church to, assist the city in our housing crisis problems that we have.
Yeah, gladly. So back before I moved to Pittsfield, maybe about 10 years ago now, the congregation here at Zion had a very important series of conversations in which they realized, hey, this space that we love and care for so much is really only being used 2 hours a week. Are we meant to have this building be just for us? And the longer they thought about it, the more they realized that the answer was no. This building that we have needs to be a blessing for the whole community. And so they started work. They tore out all the pews. They made this a flexible, beautiful space that is the common room that we rent out, that we have the German dinners in and the soup fundraisers in and Jacob's Pillow in and all sorts of rentals here. But we were not able to do anything with the back part of our building, which includes old classrooms for Sunday school, a big auditorium and gathering space, a commercial kitchen, tons of storage. You would not know from the outside how big this building actually is. So when I was called on as pastor in 2021, the folks in charge said, listen, we either need to build an elevator, make this space accessible, and figure out a use for it ourselves, or we can continue this vision that we started with our sanctuary, that this can be shared space, and hope that there's someone out in the community that is meant to share this space with us. And I said, if I'm going to move here, that's what I want to do. I think churches ought to be shared spaces. And so when I got here, it was a great way to get to know the community, because you're right, I did cold call many people, Justine included, one of the first people I met in Pittsfield, saying, do you know anyone who needs a building? Do you know anyone who might want the kind of space that we are offering? And lo and behold, things just kind of came in alignment, because the city was looking for a place downtown to have a resource center for people during the day to come and get their basic needs met, and to start to get some of their longer term needs addressed as well. And we thought, wow, that's interesting. That is a really interesting vision. And so with the city and with Berkshire Housing Development Corporation, we have been on now 2 years of talks, and we're moving into action very soon.
And so when your project is done, you'll have a resource center for folks during the day that can pop in, get the assistance they need, but you're also going to have how many units of housing for folks to be able to reside here, not necessarily as long-term housing, but as transitional housing. So as they get the help from the resource center, they can move on to a better life and to permanent housing. So let's talk about how many units in.
Yeah, so there's going to be 9 units is what they think that they can fit. There will be single occupancy efficiency apartments. It will likely be the first place that someone stays after exiting, staying on the streets or in the shelter. So a chance, I view it as a chance to really catch your breath, a chance to do all these things that those of us with places to live take for granted, arrange a place, be able to shut a door behind you. Those are not small things. And so 9 folks here, and then as you already talked about, the development on West Housatonic and White Terrace, so there's a lot in the works, and we'll be able to take 9. And then the residents actually will be able to stay as long as they want. We do anticipate that they will probably move on at some point, but for some, it might just be what they need, what their housing need is.
I think the best part about all of what we're talking about is the resource center. I don't know how many times people have come up to me and said, Mayor, you're missing the boat. It is so simple. Just put them in an apartment and everything will be okay. And many times you have to step back and say, yes, if they had the adequate life skills, that would be the solution. But in many cases, you don't know the story behind why they're on the street or why they're in the shelter and why they need to make the next step. And so, it would be really irresponsible of us not to ensure that we are giving them a well-rounded package. And so to that I say kudos to you and to the congregation for opening the doors and not even waiting until you've been asked, right? You voluntold yourself to, jump in and be part of a better Pittsfield. And so, I think that as we go on and over the next 4 years, what Pittsfield needs to do, and it's already there, right? We just need to connect the dots. There are so many awesome people in the city of Pittsfield willing to help and willing to step up. Sometimes they volunteer, and sometimes they need to be asked. But if you're not the go-getter and you don't know or you don't have a reason to ask, you continue on life as normal. But when you're asked and people step forward and volunteer, I'm counting the number of units. I'm counting the locations that we're doing and saying, geez, I wish that I could snap my fingers and say there's 250 new housing units in Pittsfield tomorrow. But it might appear that over the next 4 to 8 years, there's 250 new units that will be in the city of Pittsfield. And again, change the deal breaker. We're going to kind of run out of time, but just have folks keep onto the radar screen. So we talk about apartment housing and other stuff, but let's keep an eye on Linden Street and the Polish Community Club because we have a developer who is in town looking to develop the old Polish Community Club into 5 different buildings that would hold multiple number of 1, 2, or 3 bedroom condos that will be for sale. So they won't be apartments, but there could be some opportunities for first-time home buyers. And we're kind of running out of time to be able to have that conversation. So I want to thank both of you for joining me. I think it's very important as mayor that we get out into the community every other week before a council meeting and have conversations. And I don't want it to be just about me, right? Being mayor of the city of Pittsfield is also about highlighting all the other people. And so as we can, I'm only as good as the team that's behind me. So my housing guru is here for me to take me through. And I'm only as good as the community that's there with me. And so Pastor Joel, thanks for stepping up and thanks for being there. And so for all of you at home, thanks for tuning in for another episode of One Pittsfield with Mayor Marchetti. And I look forward to see you next time. And don't worry, we are going to continue to be bold or we're going to go home. And I'm not going home. So thanks and tune in next time.